Kerim, full name Kerim Melik Becker. I go by the stage name of Kechou. And yeah, when was that? I think in November last year, I kind of dove into or started working with live loops more intensively. I had bought like this pedal here, like the Boss RC 300. When was that? In 2014, I think. And I've always had the plan to kind of work with loops, and never really gotten into it the way I wanted to. So I would like maybe play around at home a bit, but never feel very comfortable with it. But yeah, so in November last year, I kind of decided now's the time. I also made the right connections to peeps in the city. One of them, most importantly, being Dumama, which is a stage name, Ugule to Duma. And we started working, and yeah, kind of when you start working with another person, you can't really hide anymore. Like there's responsibility. Someone will organize a gig, and then you know, I found myself on stage like a month after that playing with live loops, and I didn't feel prepared at all. But it turned out to be probably one of the best gigs we had, which was great because it's all about energy and performance, I would say. So we just, yeah, I think because it was that new and like that exciting, we just created like a very genuine experience, I think, for everyone there. And I think the way I want to structure this today is that I'm just gonna play something, like invent something now. I have no idea what it's gonna be exactly, and then talk about how that just worked and what the pros and cons and complications are in the process. And because I believe that every art form and every form of human expression is also a political and social statement, I'm also gonna involve those things in the talk, kind of. Which also leads me to how I'll try and start the composition, or whatever you want to call it. Now, I'm gonna try working with acoustic instruments first, and just create that soundscape, and then kind of let the electronic side take over. And yeah. So, this is basically how it works, or this is what comes out of what works. The only thing I didn't include now is vocals, because that's something that I do sometimes, but only if I'm very prepared. And yeah, I'm not very fond of my singing voice. I used to think I'd be a singer-songwriter one day, and I am. Like, I write songs, but I choose to rather collaborate with vocalists at this point. Also because that's quite busy, so it's good to have someone doing something else well. Yeah. Maybe to just make this a bit more interactive, is there anything that comes up immediately, like any question, any immediate comment, or anything that I can maybe pick up on? Yes.
Are you recording this as you do it? So, because I'm sure every session is like a little bit different.
Yeah.
Because it seems quite organic.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I'm sure you plan it too, but how much is your planning versus your organic sort of approach?
In this right now?
Yes.
Or like
for example, in life in general.
In life in general?
No, this and in life.
Well, I come from Germany, I'm very planned.
And maybe for this one, you said you didn't plan so much, so let's see. How much of this did you plan? Did you have a vision in your head, or just feel it and flow with it?
I mean, the only thing I did plan, or I did prepare, is the Chitende, this bow here, which I had to tune somewhat close to what I wanted to play in, or rather, actually, I picked it up. I moved the calabash. You tune this instrument either with the tuning peg here, or with by moving the calabash, and then that's how you change the relationship between the two notes, and obviously also kind of your key, your center. And I just did that, and it turned out to be in E minor, and I was like, yeah, that's very comfortable, so I'm going to go with that. But usually, yeah, you'd obviously have to tune to something. And otherwise, the only concept that I had right now was to go, okay, acoustic to more electronic, which turned out to be very like groove, Afro groove now, which I think comes from, like, by nature. If you use certain instruments, certain sounds, you kind of trigger a certain idea in your head, because we all like stimulated and, in those ways. Okay, anything?
Your pedal, how many loops can it run at once? So, like, is each loop its own layer, or do you have to at certain stages like record like what's playing in one loop and then move it around?
So this pedal, I mean, there are various possibilities, and people use very different approaches. I go with the very hardware-based approach, which basically means, yeah, I run all my sounds into this mixer, and then through the mixer into the loop pedal. And on this one I have 3 tracks on which I can overdub as much as I want. I could like do 1,000 layers and just have noise ultimately. But yeah, so what I can do with this is I can decide kind of what track will be what. So I don't know if you realize, but towards the end of the song I try to kind of come up with a B part or something where there's a different bass line. So I she tend to started the song off on track 2, and then synthesis on top and something else. I think. This is one track now, yeah? And then I can add track 3, which is bass and like groove elements. Like if I leave that alone, guitar, that kind of stuff. And then I have this one that is even more electronic and has a different bass line, which would now obviously compete with track 3 because I have the bass line there. So I'd have to be like, okay, 1 and 2 maybe, and then I can go 2 and 3. No, that's just notes, and as you were asking, I'm recording this session now particularly. I'm also making a video because I'm like, if I'm doing this, I might as well maybe use some content. Yeah, those are notes. I don't even know what that means. Yeah. Anything else? Otherwise, I'll go into the.
So, can you talk about your microphones? How many do you have and what are they?
Okay. Okay, I'll do that whilst explaining the setup, I think. Is there any water?
How do you with the looping and the constant recording, how do you keep it fresh and keep the music progressing over many gigs, over maybe a lifetime of playing with this equipment?
Thank you so much. You mean how do I not get bored, or how do I not repeat myself all the time?
Yeah, and just keep it interesting for yourself and the audience.
So there's one thing I realized about looping that is very cool, is that you come up with ideas that you do not anticipate. Like it's not like sitting down and writing music, obviously, and it's also not like playing with people, because people will add their own spice. So what you do when you play, you kind of only play your ideas, but by like layering them and then being like somewhere in the groove. And then when I recorded the synth, I was aware that I'm gonna record it on top of the bow, but I wasn't too sure what that's gonna sound like. So when I then muted track 3 and only had track 2, I had this, and I was happy that happened, and it didn't, because sometimes you like end up muting one of the tracks and you're like, okay, let me have a breakdown, and then you're like, oh my god, what is this? Because it sounds nice in the context, but so you kind of keep surprising yourself, and I think also by virtue of like the possibilities I have by now in terms of equipment and therefore sounds, it's quite limitless, kind of. And then live, I mean, just listen. If you listen to music, or you just had some experiences and you channel that into sound, I guess. Okay, we'll take a sip.
Sure. So in other words, you're saying that exactly, so you're listening, has to keep listening to yourself as if you listening.
In a way, it's like you're producing, but you're producing on the spot, and you're producing with like a certain. You can't really make a mistake, or if you make a mistake, you've got to make that mistake something cool, something that works. And you also have that time pressure in front of people, and you're trying to create a musical experience that isn't, oh, I'm at the studio, I'm producing, look how I'm producing. It's more like, this is a song, like, you may want to dance, you may want to cry, you may want to laugh, whatever. You want to trigger emotions, and not like, oh, this person is a producer, that's so like fancy or something.
It's a very stupid question for everybody to answer, but so in your tracks you have multiple instruments. Can you control those instruments that you've pre-recorded, like you just recorded them? So could you like turn the drum slightly lower, or is the track sort of set to be as it is?
The only possibility I have to manipulate a track is through faders. I have 3 faders, one for each track, so I can bring a whole track down.
It's the whole track.
Yeah, I can do this. But I at those productions and I'm like, it's dope and it's a lot of work, but in a way where I set myself apart from that and where I take a certain pride in. It's like, whatever I do and that's it. Like I can't go into my Ableton quickly and be like, oh, let me just move this one, or let me just quantize this because it's not as groovy as it should be.
And every setup will be different. That's exactly, you've got to make the choices and decide, this suits me and my, what I want to do. Something else suits someone else.
Yeah, there's no presets.
But you can add to a track. You can just add something new to a track.
Yeah.
It keeps going, and you say 1,000 times.
I could, create something till there's just a wall of noise. Yeah, which can happen. I mean, yeah, that's.
But when you record an individual thing, you can adjust the sound once you've done it before it goes into the.
I can only adjust sounds before recording them.
Right. So in the acoustic version, in like the acoustic process, you can add softer or louder.
Yeah, I mean I can add my effects on the guitar. I can add some highs to whatever acoustic instrument, or some more reverb. So let me just talk about the technical setup, and then I think it'll reveal. I hope most people are like familiar with mixers, like basic what a mixer is, kind of, and theoretically, yeah. Well, okay, let's just see. If something doesn't make sense, please just, it shouldn't be a problem. So what I'm doing is I have this loop pedal that is kind of the center of the whole thing, and they come with two inputs. So usually you'd put in like one instrument and a mic or something, or two instruments. But then to extend that, I decided to just add a mixer. So I'm going out of the stereo instrument output, which you could use for your keys or whatever, just straight into the out of the mixer. So the mixer will stereo input for the mic, into the out of the mixer. And I started with a 4-channel mixer, and just recently got an 8-channel mixer now to be able to, like, this is now fully used because I also have this vocal mic which I didn't use because I was scared. So now I have 8 different sources that go straight in, and I have the possibility also, which you usually wouldn't have, to equalize. So to work with the frequencies, have more highs, more lows, whatever, less mids, and reverb, and to also pan. I just unfortunately can't really show. Do you know what panning is? So panning is if you have headphones on and like one sound comes more from the right or more from the left. That's panning. Like you make the sound broader. That's why we have stereo. If there was no pan, then you might as well work with mono sound because it's just one source. But panning does this thing of like, oh, it sounds like the voice is coming from here and the guitar is here. And I would have demonstrated that when playing now, but Kurt just told me this thing doesn't have left and right. It's just one thing. But you can pan on this mixer. But everything you do is analog. You move the knob. So when you're playing, you want to have like a nice left, right, whatever thing. Then you're gonna be playing and be like, hopefully I get this. Yeah. Okay, the mixer. So, and then all my sources go in here. And I guess, now the instrumentation part would be, what I have here is some sort of it's actually a sampler, but I use it more as a synthesizer. It's by now quite a known product, I think. OP1 by Teenage Engineering. Actually, let me not talk about brands from now on. But it's a small synthesizer that has drum sounds and synthesizer sounds on it, and you can even sample back your voice on it, which is super dope. And I found a way to do that straight with this, or anything you want really. And I found a way to do that straight through the setup by linking this thing, so the mic in of this thing to sample, through the headphones out. I don't know if that makes sense to anyone. Because obviously I have the volume for my phones out. I can put a jack here, and that jack goes into the mic in here, and then whatever I play here, I can then sample back onto this thing. and then create chords or whatever with my. I think I have. It's probably. So that's my voice. But it's with this effect, so that sounds different. Then I can add effects on there. You can also hear when the recording stops. That's where it starts again, and then I can. And obviously you can. So
Does it have like an arpeggiator?
it has an arpeggiator. It has too many things. Yeah, I'll never understand this thing. I mean, you can record and everything in that thing itself. It's way too much. I think it takes away from all kind of musical content. Okay, so that's basically my synth, and for like strong drum backbeats, I would use that, or to sample my voice increasingly. Hopefully. Then I have this guitar, which is quite special because it has a MIDI port, which means I can. Is everyone familiar with MIDI? Kind of? No. Okay, MIDI is. I don't have the right words, but MIDI is basically technology that you have triggers, MIDI triggers.
It's a language protocol, so yeah, that sends messages, so that musical instruments and computer devices or electronic devices can communicate with each other. It's data.
Yeah, and so whatever I'm sending in, like here now this is my acoustic guitar, this is my guitar signal, that I can also give to now this one effect here. If you want to at some point, you can, or later on you can come around and have a look at these things, which is a guitar MIDI effect port, and that I can go in, and then I get, now this is double bass, but then this is something else, something weird. Oh. Okay. Let me just find something that's more reasonable. So these are brass things. Another bass. I mainly use this for bass. The problem with MIDI is it sounds very fake basically, especially guitar MIDI. So I only use that for things that can sound fake in a way. So the brass I tend to avoid actually because it tends to sound like unless I make like a really rough hip hop beat and then I'm like, yeah, I want that kind of brass sound. If I use the bass, I mainly use, this is what my guitar goes in first, is this MIDI thing, and then from that it goes straight into normal guitar effects, which one of them is a filter, an auto filter, which on guitar sound does, either takes away from the highs or enhances the highs. So if I go to this kind of sound and then I go into bass and I mix the two, I get a like some, yeah, good.
When you had your voice recorded on the sampler, could you move it to the guitar and use it?
No, you're that.
So what his MIDI guitar would be doing, so you're sending the performance data, so those note pitches, volumes, dynamics, how long he holds the note, how short it is, and then you are triggering the sounds off your unit, so that's why you can get a double bass sound.
You can't reach it through the sampler, so you can use the voice.
It all depends. We can talk about that once again. It depends on the gear and your devices and what it's able to do.
Should be technically possible, I'm sure. This is separate, yeah. I have to say, I'm also thankful for all the limits I have, and I think I've reached, because I want to make music ultimately, and I see a lot of people getting very invested with gear, and if that's what they want to do, that's great, but I want to be a performer and I want to do music, so I want those limits, and this is kind of where I stop. Yeah, but as I said, so the MIDI is great, but also you you have to use it in particular context, I think, because some things are just, I mean, there's something really, I don't know, I think it's meant to be a zither or something. Yeah, I don't know. So this is the guitar, but it obviously it gives a lot of possibilities, because if I was only able to play synth bass, I only get like very intense synthesizer bass. If you want that guitar bass sound, then I have this I got recently, because one of the problems is with a sampler is it doesn't work with dynamics. It just samples back. You put sounds on there, and it basically this whole thing doesn't have. Ouch! This whole thing, like as you can see, it's like a toy kind of. You don't have ways to really work with dynamic. That was stupid. Now I have a problem. So what happens in your micro timing or groove elements is that it sounds very, again, like if you want to do a very hard beat like techno, electro, hip hop, whatever, and like a simple drum beat in the back, like but you can hear there's nothing in the hi-hat that like gives a bit of flavor or feels like, okay, there's a bit of feel in there or something. So that's why I recently got this thing, because I've got all those things here. Yeah, and it's the most touch sensitive I could find. Obviously it would be nice if there were more things for hand percussion, because most things are conceptualized for drum kits, and then you just hit this thing. Most drummers actually just use it, and then they just add this one thing while they play a groove. But this one actually responds to fingers. Yeah, and it has a variety of sounds again, which actually is a bit of a problem, because then you get to think about this as well. And then we have, I think, now this last thing is, in terms of electronics, is a voice transformer, voice whatever thing, that gives you various possibilities. Quite a lot of them are a bit like over the top, but there's like a megaphone kind of the sound, which is quite helpful. You can format your sound. Now it's gonna get even more funny, because now I'm sounding like this, and then I'll sound like this, and now I'm an octave low. So format basically means that it changes the tone of your voice. It changes your voice character. So like now I'm like now I'm more like Mickey Mouse, whatever character, and now a strange underwater thing. I don't know. You can make up your mind on that. And then this and now this is pitch. Now I'm an octave higher, octave lower, and my normal voice, and you can mix those up. You have like bass. You can make weird effects with that if you want to, and if you have a good like pitch, then you can like I never practiced that. Some people do crazy things. So that does a lot. Dumama uses that a lot when I work with her to create some sort of like I would say like a modernist interpretation of Xhosa singing voices, because with that she can obviously mimic a lot of different characters kind of, and so when you sing like your overdubs and you create your whole chant, you get like crazy, like it's somehow you're like, oh, those are very special voices, but also sounds very electronic, what's going on, like, and it's in this like very additional styles. So yeah, it's quite cool in that context. And now acoustic, I have like this I don't know what you call that. I don't know, maybe
The tambourine.
a tambourine that you put on your hi-hat. And I have a normal a percussion mic on top here. This is giving me the, okay, now we'll talk about that. Cymbal that also gets picked up by this. No, this is my favorite instrument in the world, which is a calabash, which is basically just a half fruit shell. And it's used in various ways across the continent, but also in different parts of the world. And in music, you'd find it being used as resonator for certain instruments, and then also as acoustic percussion instrument. And this here works with a direct contact mic, which avoids bleed for me. I'll talk about that in a second. So you just press that on the bottom of this thing, and it just picks up whatever. Yes.
Wait, what is that? Sorry.
What that is?
Yeah.
A contact mic. Yeah, I'll explain why in a second. And then these two, the chitende and the talking drum, the dundun, are both connected with lapel mics, which are those that you use for like interviews and stuff, to have like a close proximity, like sound of the voice. Yeah, and I mean you heard what they sound like. They sound quite crisp and nice, I think. And all those miking methods, yeah, are kind of the best thing I could come up with up to now, and I don't think it gets much better, because what your main focus is, besides having a good sound, a clean sound, is you don't want to have bleed. Bleed being the sound of something else coming into what you're recording, and then you have that weird, because bleed often also comes with frequencies that you don't want, like low mids and stuff. And then especially when you loop, it becomes very nasty very quickly in the low mids. It's horrific. So this literally has no bleed. Those do have, but since they're so close, I can avoid a lot. This one is the biggest problem, but since it's percussions and high frequencies, I just turn the lows down, and also mute that mainly when I'm looping. Same with these two. This one I don't have to mute, because it's the contact mics, really, they pick up like very little contact from like distance. I think.
Thanks, Kurt.
Did I speak a lot?
No, you answered lots of questions. What I would like we would like to get you play some, but maybe, I don't know, can I talk some more about the kind of artistry?
Yes, I actually wanted to ask you that. Like you said, talk about political messages. So in this situation, did you have a message?
With the song. Well, as I said, I think every kind of human expression is political, kind of. Some things are more overtly political than others. And what I like about the setup and the things I'm using in it is that they are, in a way, yeah, quite overtly political in a sense, or like of social significance, and maybe even cause for controversy to a certain degree. Because we can talk about cultural appropriation.
I was going to ask you about that right now.
Yeah, we can.
Do you see criticism with regard to that?
I've never did up to now, but I'm ready for it, and I'm ready to talk about it. Like, I actually do want to talk about those things. I think it's very important to talk about them, to understand them, to understand where we stand. And yeah, I mean, to just go further down on that path now. With me moving to Cape Town, or to South Africa, which is a very like racialized society and very much racialized along the lines of black and white thinking, my perception, the way I was perceived and the way I perceived myself, changed drastically. Because well, I was born and raised in Germany, right? My mom's German, my dad is Algerian. I'm perceived very differently in Germany too as to how I'm perceived here. And I mean, I stand for a very different thing in Germany as a person, as a body, as to what I stand for here in South Africa. And in the beginning, I didn't really know how to navigate that. I'm still confused around it, I think, as everyone is. But I kind of, over time, made up my mind around what I think I can contribute in a helpful sense and in a meaningful sense. And I think that is, from my perspective, that what you see is not always what you get, kind of.
Yeah.
So when I stand on a stage using these instruments and playing this sound or whatever, and someone takes offense or just wants to interrogate or something, we would probably end up talking about those things, and I would get to explain myself, and they would maybe get the opportunity to either tell me something that I never thought about, or they'd be like, oh wow, well, I thought you that white dude, that's it, period, like appropriating all the stuff. And now comes, well, that's a very common narrative, and it makes sense.
I call it cultural appreciation in this sense for me.
Well, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
that's, but
Yeah.
but if we were to talk about that more deeply, then you get to talk about, okay, what is Africa? What does it mean to be African? Who's African? Who isn't? You get to talk about family history. You get to talk about meaning. You get to talk about meaning of music and culture. And I think in that sense. And I mean, another thing now, I'm quite invested in the idea of Pan-Africanism. And if I play instruments from such different places, the way I play the calabash now is very much tied to Mali as a culture, which is, it's basically Algeria. So North Africa. The chitende is Southern Africa, it's Mozambique. The talking drum is West Africa, it's Nigeria.
And also the fact that African musicians have moved around.
They've moved around, of course, and people took ideas from those instruments, and exactly, the guitar being a somewhat culturally ambiguous instrument by now. There's no belongs here, doesn't belong here, whatever. It's
And also, when you first started, when did you move to Cape Town?
2.5 years ago.
Okay, so now do you also go back to Germany and perform your music?
Probably, yeah. I'll move back and I'll probably perform my music. Yeah.
No, I'm asking, do you sometimes go there?
Oh, up to now, no, I didn't. Yeah. I do go back 1 month per year, but I never took this. Well, last year I didn't do it, and this year I didn't take it with because it was family time.
So when you were there, did you think you'd be studying what you're studying now?
Sorry again?
When you were living there, did you see yourself doing what you do now?
No, not really. I always, since I was 14, I always did music and I always wanted to do music. I never wanted to study music, first of all. Then all my friends started to study jazz, all the people that I played with. Then my brain told me, because everyone was doing it, that I would want to study, and then it's just like, oh yeah, of course, that's like the way forward. Then I figured out I hate the way they teach jazz, at least in Europe. I don't, I didn't like it at all. And that kind of threw me off quite a lot. I had a rough half a year of what is everything? And I went to Zimbabwe for work in 2014 to document a campus, the music campus. I did sound, and then we had to quickly edit that material, and therefore I went to Cape Town with the person that did the filming, and I got introduced to the music college here, and I had a look around. Yeah, and I saw the African music department, and what I liked about it mainly was just that it doesn't make sense. In UCT and everything, it's a very uncomfortable department in many ways, and it exposes a lot about UCT and about how it's run, and that also goes into how things are taught and how free you are as a student in a way, because there is no there's no right and wrong really, even though there is right and wrong in particular cultures. But here, since it's already wrong, like everything is already wrong, there's so, and for me that's something that I can flourish of, because I tend to be political and I tend to be very self-driven. So if you just give me space and access to things and something controversial, then I'll just kind of flourish of that, I think. Yeah. Sure. Okay, any questions? I don't know, time is running, I think. Okay. But is there no... Because I'm really here, like, I'm gonna be playing gigs and stuff. But I mean, it's not that I don't want to play, but I'd rather want to, like, tell you stuff. Sorry, I was looking at this set a lot. Okay, I'm just trying to be...
Well, that's enough. We thought you
We only have 5 minutes.
Yeah, just, okay, apparently I like talking. Were you...
How long did it take you to just learn everything in terms of connecting the stuff together and?
Okay, yeah, a brief one on that. It even ties in with, like, I think ideas of social status and like access and stuff, because this is a lot of stuff and it costs a lot of money, right? I was very fortunate because, interestingly enough, the unfortunate part of my family in terms of history and also his upbringing, my dad, got into music, played as a live musician for long, and then got into studio work and built a studio in Berlin. And through him I got introduced into all these techniques, into technology basically. And I got a lot of, like, all the guitar effects that I have, the first mixer I had, and part of the loop station, because we bought it together as my dad's stuff basically. And through that I just had the access to, like, explore things without the pressure of, like, oh, I need the money to buy it and then I have the pressure to use it, whatever. So yeah, and learning, I mean, I learned most of these things, I mean, percussion and stuff more closely since I came here. Guitar since I was 14. Piano I have 0 skills, I would say, like close to none. Yeah.
Rose, maybe a really stupid question. But with your synthesizer, you said that you can affect the EQ and like frequencies. And how do you select which effects you want to? Because obviously, I mean, can you sort of change settings while you go, or do you sort of have to decide on a set like 4 or 5 things that you want to be able to affect while you perform? I don't know if that makes sense.
You mean what sounds? Do I have to select what sounds I want to use in a set, or how do I want to?
How do you want to, like, I want to say edit them, but like,
Okay. This is like where I'm also still figuring it out, because the effect I use mainly is just reverb from the mixer, because I'm like very haptic, I'm very touch oriented, and like if I see the reverb and I can touch the knob, I'm like, this is cool, this is hands on for me. This thing has a lot of effects, and you can select for each sound. So for this sound I can select an effect and then I can turn and it does something to it.
Okay, so they are just like multiple effects.
There's multiple, like
that you sort of as you go.
like a lot of things per sound that you can pre-select, but it's just a lot of work, and I rather actually don't want to look at it, because I rather want to play. And then when I feel like, oh, I have an idea with this sound, then I'll figure it out and for the next set or something. Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone who wants to start becoming like more political in their music?
I think what's super important, and I'm not even saying I'm like there at all, is first, like, check out your own history, or like where you come from really, and like what that means. That's but it's just, I mean, but like check out your path, like check out what you mean in whatever setting that you're in, and like what would I mean if I was there in the world and there and there. And I think maybe also, and it's something I'm also still struggling with, because it's a bit scary in Cape Town and South Africa generally, but like be honest and vulnerable in that as well. Like, I think it's fine to stand on stage and be like, look, I'm not 100% sure of what this means, but I'm ready to talk about it, and I'm ready to, and I think what I have to say and what I'm doing is relevant enough to kind of steal your time, like, you know what I mean? Don't do something that is like, you know, stupid, or do it on purpose then, maybe, you know, but yeah, I wouldn't choose to actively offend someone just to like have a political message or something. I'd rather do what I want to do, and I do what I feel connected to, and then I reflect that back onto myself and like try to find out more about myself in order to just be able to talk about things and be more or less comfortable in being uncomfortable. Yeah, I can play something. I don't know what time is saying, and I don't know what class is coming in next.
We're done. So if
We-
you want to, you
Okay. Okay. You still want me to?
Unless you want them to just have a look around.
I don't know. I don't mind. It's up to you. I'm just here. I'm serving this crowd. So. Okay, play. Okay.
Maybe do a professional.
Yeah. We can also. There's a mic, and there are vocalists here. So if anyone wants to jump in on anything. Yeah. Well. Oh no. We're still on that. You see. Yeah, I hope you took something from this. If there are any plans that involve anything of this and you need any advice or whatever, or you want to come challenge me on what I'm doing, I'm ready. No, I don't know, but yeah, I'm around and you know.